Hey, it's me, Ian. I'm just here listening.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to the B&H event space. You are tuned in to Mastering Wedding Day Workflow with Susan Stripling, hosted by OWC. Now, we're going to help you get through that stressful part of the wedding day. And Susan is handling all the stress because she has to show us her desktop and her folders. And is this the hardest part of your what you do?
It's the part that if you're not the most meticulous, it will snowball into a disaster. So yes.
All right, I can attest to that. But I know Susan has a lot to get to, and she is one of the best in the industry for a reason. So if you guys do have any questions, feel free to drop them into the YouTube chat. I'm going to disappear into the background, and Susan, I'll see you in a bit from Q&A.
Great. Hi, I'm Susan. Coming to you from Jersey City. You'll probably see a small collection of animals parading behind me during the Zoom. If anyone interesting shows up, I will hold them up and show them to you. But there are currently 3 dogs and 2 cats rattling around in my apartment, so that's gonna be pretty fun. But I want to talk to you guys about workflow because there are just so many components that go into being a wedding photographer, just from the business of it to the marketing of it to the actual shooting of it. But the place I see people struggle kind of the most is figuring out how to come up with a workflow that can not only work, but work consistently and then evolve over time to meet your needs. So I'm going to talk you through the 2 most important things that I do before shooting a wedding, and then the way I handle everything when I come home after the wedding. And these are things that I generally do like without fail. And if I skip any of these steps or do any of these steps differently, I'm older, I don't like change. So I like to do things exactly the way I like to do them so that there are no errors. The 2 things that I do, oh, there goes the zoo. There are the animals. If you see what looks like 2 white dogs fighting each other, that's just what my dogs do for fun. And they are in fact okay. One of them sounds like she's coughing up a lung behind me. It's very professional over here. So the 2 things that I do to prepare before a wedding are create a client dossier and go down a meticulous packing list. So the reason why each of these things are incredibly important is, one, prepares me to actually shoot on the wedding day, understanding everything that's going to happen. The other thing is, because I tend to be all over the place, I travel a lot, I need to make sure that the gear that I'm bringing with me is well organized and I'm not forgetting anything. So most of my pre-wedding process is just so that I can protect myself from myself and not forget anything. So the packing part is actually fairly easy. I have a note on my phone, and it is also on my computer. I'm a big believer in using my Notes app. If you're about to say, well, have you tried this software? Yes, I probably have. And I go right back to Notes app every single time. And I'm going to share my screen with you. You are not allowed to judge what my screen looks like. So let's share. And here it is. So let's go into my notes. My packing list, let's come down over here, is pretty extensive. Oh, I moved it. Hang on a second. See, this is why we don't do this, you guys. Let's put it back. There we go. I take 2 bags and a light stand with me to every wedding. And I'm like talking my way through this just to make sure this is current. I have a red backpack, and it's called the red backpack because I used to have a black backpack and I needed to differentiate between the 2. My red backpack looks like this. It's from a company called Brevity, and I really love it because there's space to put gear in the front, but then this top part just opens up and is just blank space for anything else I need to shove in there. You also have space for a laptop. You can get at your gear through a side, or you can get at it through here. And in the red backpack, I have my 2 main camera bodies and the 2 lenses that I used the most. That way, when I start the day, I can just open the bag and everything is right there. So I have 2 Canon R5s. I have my 85-1.2 and my 50-1.2. And those live in the backpack. They start the day in the backpack. They end the day in the backpack. That's also where I have one of the most important things I could possibly have, my card wallet. I have been carrying around this card wallet for a very long time. If I'm going to act like an influencer, I would hold it up, put my hand behind it, tap it. It's called the Think Tank Pocket Rocket. It has so much space inside of it for stuff. And I keep SD cards and CF Express cards in here because the R5s take CF Express and SD. So I have my cards, my OWC cards. They're all hanging out here in this. Also in this is an air tag. All of my stuff has air tags in it. My backpack, this, my rolling bag, anything that you can affix an air tag to, I'm going to. So this also goes in, and this actually reminds me, I also keep a pair of loop earplugs in here, but I took them out, and this is what you don't do. You don't take them out because then you won't put them back. So now I have to figure out where they are and put them back. This also goes in the red backpack, and other things that go in there could be Advil, it could be a pair of sunglasses, it could be, let's see what's in it today, actually. This will be a fun experiment in real time. From my last shoot, what I have in here are the charger to my Stella Light, a big thing called stuff, which is really just batteries, the key card to my studio, my Ray-Ban Meta glasses, and Advil, very important. The Ray-Ban Meta glasses I use to do behind the scenes videos on a wedding day. So that's what goes into the red backpack. Then I have a big rolling bag that I take with me, and it's the Shimoda DV roller. What I love about that roller is it opens up like a doctor bag. So I used to have other bags that just opened up, but I had like this big lid. The Shimoda opens up and out like that. And I have all different kinds of things in it. You can see on my note, like I have a can of atmosphere aerosol. I have a 135, 1.8. I have different flashes, and it all is listed out in here in a way that I will remember. So because I often go to the studio to shoot headshots, and maybe I'll pull out a camera and a lens, or I'll go take a walk and take some photos and pull out a camera and a lens, I go back to this every single time and check things off. I actually need to go through this again and add a few more things that I take with me, but the checklist is very important. That's like step one to my workflow of making sure I have everything that I need. Step two is my client dossier, and I'll show you a look at one of them. Here's one right here. I obtain the information on this dossier in a couple of different ways. And again, this is like a fundamental step of my workflow, is being prepared with my clients on the wedding day. So sometimes they work with a coordinator, sometimes they don't, but I'm always compiling this dossier at the end of the night, or at the end of the planning process, so that I have something day of. And the other thing I love about notes on my Mac is that I can come over here and invite people to collaborate. So whoever's going with me on the wedding day, they will all get a copy of this note. And the reason why I like that is my note always has a checklist for family formals. And no matter who's calling out the list, they can check it off, and it will check off on on all of our devices in real time. So what this has for me is it has my team and everyone's contact information, the clients and their contact information, an emergency contact and a coordinator. I like to know the guest count, whether we're doing a first look, and how long we're going to be there. Underneath that is special notes, anything that the clients have told me along the way that are things that would be important for me to know. Like, it's my grandmother's birthday and we're going to give her a cake at the reception. Helpful to know. We're having a Jewish ceremony and we're stomping a glass at the end. Helpful to know. Like all of these little things that might slip my mind between talking to them and going over their final timeline and day of. Underneath that is a section called locations. Where are we meeting? Where are people getting ready? Where are we doing the rest of the day? It's got addresses. I've also started including parking information, because everything that I shoot is in New York for the most part if I'm not traveling. And one thing New York does not have are convenient parking lots for literally anything. So if I'm going to park at, it says Liberty Warehouse here, luckily had a parking lot. One of the few New York venues that does. But if I'm going to, like, say, the Pierre, I'll say, I'm going to park at the lot across the street and give the address for that. And that's helpful for me, because then at the end of the night when me and my team are leaving, we can all walk together to parking and be safe. Then I have a very detailed timeline underneath so that I can continue referencing back to it. I have a list of my clients and who their family members are so that I can call people by name. Under that, we have a list of the portraits we're going to take. And then anything under that, we have notes from clients and attachments. And that's usually if a coordinator sends me a PDF and I want to put that at the end of the time, so I can just have everything all in one location. So these are the two things. These start my workflow by being prepared to shoot the wedding with both my gear and my stuff. And now let's talk about the part I think most people really kind of want to know is the post-production part of it, which can be as complicated or as simple as you want to make it. And I utilize a bunch of different tools to help me get there. And I'm going to show you also how it steps through on my in my folders in the background. I'm going to keep my screen up because I'm just going to keep showing you stuff as I go along. So you can see my desktop. It is usually pretty neat, but I will come back from a wedding. I have my cards. I work off of a laptop. In one of my locations, I have a bigger monitor that I attach my laptop to. In my other location, I don't have that. I kind of want to add one on there because it's really helpful. But I download everything and work off of my MacBook Pro. There's my boyfriend in the background. Everybody say hi, Bill. Bye, Bill. Off he goes. He is also a photographer, and he has to leave and go into the world today. So it's just us and the animals. So when I come home, there are certain things that I always do day of. And I need to do them day of because otherwise I'm not going to feel properly backed up. I'm going to worry about this all centers around my cat. I'm worried that the cat is going to knock this off of my desk or knock a CF card on the floor. When I leave the wedding, this is always in my pocket. It is always on my body. If I stop at the New Jersey Turnpike to go to the bathroom, it comes in with me. But I come home and I download directly to my computer. And I download in a very specific manner. So I'm bringing up my screen to show. Workflow is always stored on my computer. And Mac users, if you create a folder and then you lock that folder. So for example, go into workflow. If you look at this folder right here, you can see that it's locked. If your folder is not locked and you select all of the subfolders and move them somewhere else, it's going to move them out of that first folder and put them somewhere else. If you lock the folder, what I can do is I can start up a new folder somewhere else, open that folder, select everything in my locked folder, and pull it on over. It doesn't move it, it copies it. So this is the naming structure that I use for all of my events. And it lives in this folder called workflow so that I can grab everything and I can pull it all over. These are the two ones that I use on the night of a wedding. I download all of my images and I shoot everything in RAW. I download all of my images into the folder called RAWs and Outtakes. My second photographer's images goes into second RAWs and Outtakes. And that's where all of the images get downloaded. Once everything goes in there, we're going to do some backups. We're going to get to that, but I want to explain the rest of this folder structure. I have a folder for keepers for after I've culled. If I'm going to put together collages for my blog, they go in there. Anything that's small for Instagram, it goes in there. Anything that I'm going to send out to Evoto, and I promise I'll get to Evoto, for retouching goes in there. And then I have my final folder, and that's where everything gets broken down once all of my editing is done. So we're going to come back to this. When I shoot a wedding, I come back. We have 2025 weddings. I go in and I make a brand new folder, or there might be a folder existing there already. If you look down through these under here, you're like, well, how do you have 11/08/25? You haven't shot that wedding yet. No, but we did do an engagement session. So that's already living on my computer. So the wedding that I shot about a week and a half ago, there was already an engagement folder in there. Now there's a wedding folder in there. All of my RAWs got dragged into there. My second RAWs went into there. Once I edited everything, now I have my keepers. Haven't blogged yet. Final, everything ends up in there. So you can see how things sort of move through the folder structure. Once I download, my images again go in there. My second's images go in there. Then I need to back up. And backing up, I think, is one of the most important things that we can do in our post-production workflow, because this isn't film. There's not a single solid copy, which I can't believe we ever shot film. That's just very terrifying in terms of backups. But I want my digital files to be in as many places as possible. So the first thing that I'm going to do, once everything is downloaded, if you look over here on my desktop in the top right, it says Thunder Bay. And Thunder Bay is my RAID backup system, and it's from OWC. And what I love about it is that I can come in here and using SoftRAID, which is the software that makes the RAID go, I can look at every single drive in my RAID and see that there are no errors. I can see what the size is. I can see how much is available. So I have a 36 terabyte RAID system, and I honestly just love it. I was really intimidated to get it set up. I thought it was going to be very, very, very complicated. But I talked to the people at OWC. They helped me figure out what I needed, and it came already configured. It was plug and play. I don't know why or how it took me this long to get this set up, but it really is that easy. And it sits on my desktop, and you can see over here, it functions as just another external hard drive is what it looks like, really. And I have all kinds of things backed up in here. So once everything is downloaded, I'll go into my 2025 weddings in my Thunder Bay. I'll drag over the folder for the wedding and let it start backing up. So that's backup number 1. Backup number 2 is, oh, come on over here. I would like to keep screen sharing. Thank you so much. Trying to move this all around all over the place. Hang on one second, you guys. Let's move that. There we go. I also use Backblaze. I do not use Backblaze on my desktop because things are constantly being downloaded, things are constantly being taken off. I actually Backblaze my Thunder Bay RAID system because the things that are going on there are staying. I'm not removing raw files after a wedding or anything like that. They're living on this Thunder Bay RAID system. So this is constantly working in the background. Like my last backup was today at 12:21 p.m. Hang on one second. I just unplugged something. Oh boy. So it's real-time working conditions. The cat just kicked my plug out of the wall. Okay. Bless her. So as of 12:21 today, everything on my Thunder Bay is backed up to Backblaze. And what's great about that is, let's say that I'm on the road. I'm about to do a road trip for a month. What if I need to get something off of my Thunder Bay and I'm obviously not going to bring this thing with me? I can just go on to Backblaze online and find what I'm looking for and re-download it as needed. So now I have 2 backups, and that's really important to me. The images are still on my cards. They're on my computer. So technically there's more. They're on Backblaze and they're on my Thunder Bay. Before I cull a single image, before I edit a single image, I want them backed up in multiple different locations. So they get backed up. And then one at a time, I take the folders of the images that we've shot and I pull them into a program called Photo Mechanic. So it's just as I grab the folder, drag it down, drop it in Photo Mechanic, and it opens up. I sort by capture time. And one other thing that I think is very, very, very important to mention is right before starting photographing any wedding, myself and my second photographer, we always go to time.gov on our phones and sync our dates and times on our cameras. I know it seems like your camera should keep perfect time, but I have one camera that for some reason moves a little faster than the other on time. I'm not really sure why. So we always sync up at the beginning of the day so that when I throw all of our images together, they stay synced in terms of time. But I do not edit them all in the same folder. I want to go through and edit my images first, and then my second photographer's images are there to help continue the story that I'm telling. So I do mine first and I do theirs second. And in Photo Mechanic, what I do is I go one image at a time. And if I want to keep it, I hit the number 1 button and that gives it 1 star. That's it. And what you're seeing here is you're seeing all of the images that did not make the cut, which is very funny. You get to see really fascinating things I shoot, like I think that's the ground. I'm not entirely certain. But I will go through, if I double click on an image, I can go through just one at a time and give it a 1 if I'm going to keep it, and otherwise just leave it alone. When that is all done, up here in the top right of Photo Mechanic, I will unclick the 0. That will leave me with only the images on my screen that I've given 1 star. And the reason you're not seeing any there right now is because I've moved them already into another folder. I take everything that shows up here as a 1 star, I select all, and then I will come over here. See, I was working on a headshot session the other day. So I will select all, and then I will move them, literally physically drag them into my keepers folder. Then I'll go do the exact same thing with my second photographer's images. I'll go through all of them, unclick the 0. Everything that I gave 1 star gets dragged over into the keepers folder. Then I do another quick pass. So for this wedding, you're seeing all of my raw file keepers. I will go through and sort them by capture time. And then I like to organize things. So for example, like I shot some details at the house, but then you can also see kind of over here, I shot the dress again at the venue. So I would want to grab those and move them up here so that they're in proper order. So for example, he's getting ready at the same time she's getting ready. I'll take all of her getting ready images and move them so that they stay together. I'll take all of his getting ready images and move them so they stay together. So when the client is looking through the gallery, they're not hopscotching back and forth from place to place. Then once I have everything in the exact order that I want it, I just give it a really brief rename, because I want to make sure that if I'm sorting everything by file name, what I'm going to see, like for example, she's finishing getting ready here, and then it hops straight into his getting ready there. I want to make sure that everything is in the order that I wanted it to be. So I do that. Once all of that is done and everything is in its keeper folder, then I'm going to take that keeper folder and drag it over here into Lightroom. Sorry, I'm trying to do this while looking at the little screen as well. Okay. I drag it over here into Lightroom, and you can see that it's right here. I take it into Lightroom, and then I close Lightroom. That's all I'm doing. I'm bringing it in, putting it into my Lightroom, closing Lightroom. I have one main Lightroom catalog. I don't save a Lightroom catalog for every single wedding that I shoot. I have one it's called Work 2024, and clearly it's going so well that we're into 2025. Once a wedding is delivered, I don't need the Lightroom catalog anymore. So for me, it doesn't make sense to make one for every single wedding I shoot. It makes more sense to just have one and then just put what I need into it and use it as kind of a working catalog. So once all of the images are dragged in there, I close it. It asks if I want to close. I always want to close. I don't back up. I know that that's probably not the greatest thing in the entire world, but I don't. Then I come down to a program called Imagine AI. And for those of you who are not using some form of AI program to edit your raw files, I have to tell you that this is hands down the single best thing that I've done. And this is not a commercial for Imagine. It's just a software that I freaking love. And in a nutshell, because I could teach you how to set the whole thing up, but we have a limited amount of time. In a nutshell, what you basically do is you can create a profile. You'll create your own AI profile. And if you don't have your own, there are multiple talent profiles that you could choose from and use someone else's editing profile. I have a talent profile on there. It is exactly what I use to edit my own images. All you have to do to create a talent profile is feed it Lightroom catalogs that you have built of images that you have edited. So you need your raw files and you need them edited how you want it. And then basically what you're going to do is you're going to feed this program those catalogs and those images because you're going to teach it to edit like you. So this is AI editing, but it's also very smart AI editing because I have trained it. And at this point, I've trained mine on, I think, well over 100,000 images at this point. I've updated my profile multiple different times as I've made slight changes or tweaks to my work or the way I like things to show up. This is me. This is editing as me. You know, I've heard some people say like, oh, you know, using Imagine is cheating. Well, it's not, because it's my editing style and it's my editing style that I've taught it. So I'll come in here and I'll click on projects and you could say create a new project. I don't use it to cull because I like culling myself. Culling is the one time that I can be very frank and honest with my own work. I have to look at every single image that came out of my camera. I have to see when I didn't do a very good job. I have to see if I got sloppy. I have to see if I did something really well. It keeps me accountable to myself. So I cull my own images. So I'll click on edit. I'll choose my Lightroom catalog. This is where if you forgot to close your Lightroom catalog, it will yell at you and be like, you need to close your Lightroom catalog. But I can come in here and say, like this was the wedding. It was up Tara Plachoki, Wedding Keepers. There were 1,000 images in there. That's what I want out of my Lightroom catalog. It's a raw file. I'm not choosing stars or anything like that. I just go to next, tell it it's a wedding. There's my AI profile. That's the one I made myself, but there's other ones down here. So like clean and crisp, that one's mine. You can go to the Imagine website. You can see what all of the different profiles look like if you want to use someone else's, but I click on my AI profiles. And then the only other thing I let it do for me is I do let it straighten. For the most part, I'm pretty good at it, but I swear to you, the second a family formal shows up, I have to tilt it 5 degrees one way or the other, and I don't know why. But you click on straighten, and then down here in the bottom right, you click on edit. And I'm not going to do that because I don't want to pay to re-edit this wedding. But you'll click on edit, and when you do that, let me come back over to my projects. This was a headshot session that I did. It will show you as you go along. It's editing, it's reviewing, you're fine-tuning, where are you in the process. Once all of your images are edited, and I'm telling you, it will take less than 30 minutes for it to edit a wedding for me. Over here, instead of upload final edits, it will say download. So you'll click on that. It will ask you if you would like to reopen Lightroom. You say yes, you open Lightroom, and your edits are there. So when I come back in here to Lightroom, and I go look at that wedding that I just uploaded. Sorry, the dogs and the cats. It comes back and it's edited for me. We're done. It's done. I still go one image at a time. I look at every single image. I make sure that it looks really good. Because every once in a while I'll do something funky, like, let me find something where it got a little confused. So like, for example, here in this situation, like here, she's got her face turned up. It's pretty dark in the background. This image came back about a quarter of a stop overexposed. It does it less and less now that I just keep training it. But sometimes, like if I have subjects in front of a window and I don't quite nail a silhouette that I'm going for, it will try to fix it in the other direction and I don't want it to. I also just want to have eyes on every single image just to make sure, especially like a wedding like this one, the decor was very pink. Let me see if I can find, like you can see, it was just really pink. It was at a, there, very pink wedding. I wanted to make sure that it didn't try to fix the pink or it didn't make the pink really weird or anything like that. So I do go through and I look at everything. Once everything is done, and you will also note, it's all in color. When I am editing, the first round of everything is always in color. And we're going to get back to that, I promise. I take everything once it's done, I export it out, and that's where this folder over here that's called For Evoto shows up. Now, my 2 AI programs that I use are Imagine AI and Evoto. Evoto is AI retouching. So everything gets exported out into this For Evoto folder. And then I take that For Evoto folder and I pull it in to Evoto. Let me move this thing over here. All right. I'm constantly moving around my Zoom screen so I can see what I'm doing. Let's find an image. Let me move the Zoom screen again, guys. Sorry. That I can show you a good example of what this is going to do. Let's come in through here. Okay, super cute image. She's like bent over the stair. It's adorable. Let's come back in here so it fits. You can save, like in Lightroom, you can save presets. What I'm going to do when I come into Evoto, I come to the far right, I click on the person's face, and it gives you everything that you can possibly tweak in terms of retouching. And it is so involved. It is so impressive. You have blemish removal, you have skin retouching, facial reshaping, facial expressions, teeth, eyes, makeup, hair. You even have hands where you can retouch the veins on someone's hand. I have set up a very simple profile or preset for myself that does very minimal skin smoothing. It does not body reshape. I don't body reshape, but it is just a very gentle retouch. So I'll come in, I'll pick an image, I'll click on it. It'll think about it. It will do everything that needs to be done to it. So let's come in on her face. For example, you take the effects off. You see you've got some flyaway hairs here. The light is a little splotchy right there. I click on it, you can see everything it's doing, and then it retouches. Once that's done, I select all images and I sync them. Now, am I well aware that I am also syncing images of the flowers, a picture of someone from really far away? Yes. but I'm just going to run the whole wedding through Evoto to do a very light AI retouch on everyone, because if I go through and I just choose the images that I want to use, that actually ends up taking more time than just running through and paying the extremely minimal amount per image to do the whole wedding. Once I've done that, and this is very quick, I just pull it in, I press my one preset, I click sync, I click export, and when it exports out, this for Evoto folder gets a subfolder called Evotoed. And all that means is it ran through Evoto. That's when I'm going to go through. I'm going to take this folder and put it right back in Photo Mechanic, because I like to look at things over and over and over again. I'll go back through. I'll make sure that everything has been taken care of. Like if my assistant is in the background, did I get them out of the photo? If I fix something, does it look the way I wanted it fixed? Like that sort of thing. So, and you'll notice we're all still in color. So once everything is exactly how I want it to be, we're going to take these images, and now they're JPEGs, mind. Let me move this back over here. There we go. I take these JPEGs and put them back into Lightroom, import them all back in. It does not know where they are because I've done this already. There we go. I take all of my images, I select them all, control click, create virtual copies. Yes, I do. I want you to create virtual copies. The reason I'm creating virtual copies is I'm delivering every single image to my clients in both color and in black and white. Now, I used to do the thing where I would pick what I wanted to be in black and white, and I would pick what I wanted to be in color. But, you know, let's be real. My clients know I'm shooting digital. They know everything comes out as color. They might want an image in color versus black and white. And I made a decision probably about 2 years ago to give them everything in color and in black and white. So you can see up here, all of my color JPEGs, they have now been run through retouching. They're back in Lightroom. I'm creating, virtual copies for them. That's done. All I do, come over here to develop, make sure that you have auto sync on. And after you've created your virtual copies, they're all already selected. So I click auto sync, I click black and white. You can see in the top left, it's synchronizing all of those settings. So now simply by creating virtual copies and turning them black and white, I have a color version and a black and white version. It's still syncing. It'll get there. A color version and a black and white version of every single image that I have. So like when you come in here and you start looking, you'll start seeing, they'll start populating color, black and white, color, black and white for every single image. That's when I will select all. I will export them out. I choose where I want them to go. I rename them to whatever I want. These all get exported out back to our file structure before into, remember the workflow folder? Final, all images. So once they go into all images, I drag all images back into Photo Mechanic, and that's when I sort them. I put ceremony images in the ceremony folder. I put cocktail and reception images in the cocktail and reception folder. So if we come back to that exact wedding, you know, you've got, these are all of the images that are just of Tara and Peter. These are just getting ready images, just family and wedding party. And the reason why I do that is I want to make it easier for clients when they have their family, come here thing, and when they log into their gallery. So I use something called PickTime to upload everything. So we'll go back over here. So there's Tara and Peter. When I go into their photos and media, everything is uploaded by part of the day. So then when they go in and they look at their gallery, you come in here. Come on. Come on. I like when I have to do things in real time and the internet's like, why don't we just be kind of slow in here? It's thinking about it. In the meantime, if you have questions, please make sure you drop them in the comments so that I can come back to them. I love that this just doesn't want to load right now. Give me one more second, and if it doesn't load, we're gonna just move on. Oh, there we go. Okay. So when clients log in, they can come over here, look at the gallery, and go exactly to where they want to go. They can also do an AI search on their own gallery. This is the face of every single person that's in the gallery. So if we want to see every single image that just has that dude in it, you can click on that. It's really helpful for clients who want to just find their images. But even if you don't click on anything specific, you just go through and it will take you from one scene to another, which is very, very, very helpful to me. Once all of that is done, that means that everything is done, right? I have gone through and picked keepers. I have gone through everything is in final. I have gone through everything is in a vote. Like everything is done what it needs to do. I'll reopen my Thunder Bay, go back to 2025 weddings, drop that wedding back in there. And it's probably not going to do anything because it's up to date. There we go. A folder already exists. Do you want to merge it or replace it? I will merge it because what it's going to do is it's going to take everything that I had already put in there and merge it with the changes that I've made to it. And that is the last step of my workflow. So that I don't forget any of this, I use a program called Things. And that's how this is everything I have to do today. If you're looking at today here, these are the things that I have to do. I still have to work on my QuickBooks. But once again, I have templates. So let's say I'm doing a wedding. It will tell me every single thing that I need to do. So that wedding that we were just looking at, technically it's done. Where are they? Nope, that was their engagement. Wedding. So you can see for this wedding what I've done and on what day I've done it. Because Things is a fantastic program. I could say, I want to talk to B&H. I want to do it today. And it is general business to do. It's pretty helpful. So while I do use, a CRM called Tave to manage things with clients such as contracts and emails and things like that, I use Things to manage just my day-to-day life because it makes things so much easier. It's very easy to use on my phone. I can actually email things to myself and it will show up in Things. And that's how I track everything. So I realized that was like, you don't need to watch my Thunder Bay working. I realized that was a 40-minute blast through a very complicated workflow. I want to go ahead and stop and give the last 20 minutes to any questions that you all might have. I talked about a lot of programs, a lot of folders, a lot of images moving from one place to another. I'd love to know if people have any questions about this, or if I just confused them so thoroughly, they have nothing to say.
Their heads are stopping the spinning right now. They're trying to process all the information.
Hopefully this is being recorded for later consumption.
Yeah, this is one you got to bookmark, Susan. This is one you have to come back to. I mean, look, good information.
It's a lot.
But that's good. But it's better than coming in and it's like, hey, here's 4,000 pictures and I gave you 2 pieces of information.
Correct. This is everything of how the images move through my computer. This is 23 years of figuring out how I like things to work. And I definitely, if I were watching this for the first time, would be like, all right, we're going to go back in with a notebook and I'm going to pause it every 5 seconds to see what's going on. So hopefully, like fine wine, it will age really well on a rewatch.
Definitely.
Yeah,
we're giving them time to get the questions in. Now, I want to start it. How long did it take you to come down to this workflow, and how often do you like audit the workflow and say like, okay, I need to change something, or I need to all the time?
But I change it in little bits and pieces. For example, I used to, this is insane. I used to call every wedding the same day I shot it. And I will still stand by. That is the most efficient way to do it because the wedding is still super fresh in my mind. I can call it so much faster if I do it same day. But when I used to call weddings same day, I didn't have 2 cats, 2 dogs, and a boyfriend who lives here. And now when I come home from a wedding, I want to hang out with my family. I don't want to call. So I'll download, but I call the next day. So like little things here and there, like when I started using Evoto for retouching post workflow, I started putting the Evoto folder in there so the images had somewhere to go. But for the most part, this is 23 years of trial and error, and what am I spending too much time on and what am I not spending enough time on? So the improvements and tweaks are smaller instead of bigger at this point.
Okay, so it's really just fine tuning the details and hey, this could have been done a little more smoothly. Let's correct it.
And like, for example, now Evoto, and I need to dig in and look at it. I think you can go straight from Lightroom, from a Lightroom catalog into there instead of having to export out and import in. So once that is something that, you know, is ready for prime time, I'll amend my workflow to just go from Lightroom to Evoto so I don't have to, you know, go on a little journey to get there.
I love this. I have my friends texting me questions, people you don't even realize are watching, and they're like, hey,
no.
dude, can you ask, when do you take on an assistant? When do you grow too big when you have to start outsourcing and hiring in assistants and paid, not just doing the old like, hey, you can come help me and learn, paid assistants?
So I have no one who works for me full time. It's just me. It's just me.
Wow.
But I don't ever go to weddings solo. Like, I just think that, first of all, like, listen, I'm accident prone and I have a terrible memory. So someone just at least needs to be there to save my gear from me, from every time I put it down in a chair and walk away from it. So I would recommend, no matter where you are in your career, at least having one person come with you to an event is really helpful, because they can do things like make sure your gear gets from one place to another, hold a light for you, help call out those images for the family photos. You're not just out there swimming by yourself. It's nice to have a teammate. I used to have someone that did work for me full time. She's moved on to do other things at this point. But I was able to not hire someone else on because I was at the point that AI was, that Imagine was editing for me, that I didn't need a human to do it. Which I kind of struggle with the ethics of that, but
I know it's like that 6 of one, half does the other. It's like it's good in one side, but there is aspects of it where you're like, I wish I could just keep.
So I try to use it as judiciously and intelligently as I can. But also anything that I have a program do for me, I just still need to make sure that if I had to do it myself, I can do it myself. So
interesting.
But my whole thing is about how can I work faster? How can I work smarter without compromising any quality?
How do you balance? I know there's always the balance of, obviously you're in it to make money. From the business side of things, are some of us are. I'm not even gonna lie. But from the business side of things, upping how many weddings you're doing versus upping cost, how does the balance fall on that? Should people be looking to increase their frequency or increase their cost, and when should they be reevaluating?
So here's the dirty little secret. None of us know. We have no clue. We are all just guessing. Because what works for me in New York, being me with my style, with my business, with my personality, might not work for literally my boyfriend who lives in the same room as me, right? Like, everybody is different, and the economy is very weird right now. The wedding bookings are kind of weird right now. We're still in kind of a post-COVID strange thing. So last year I made a very some might say real dumb decision to just really raise my prices really high and say, like, this is the stand that I want to take now. Like, this is where I need to be priced. We're going to see what happens. But I could never have made that decision if I didn't have like a solid savings plan that I had been working on for like 20 years and a little money in the bank in case this was the stupidest business decision I ever made, which luckily it's only like 20% stupid. It's working pretty good. But what I used to do and what I did for over 20 years was just a tiny little inchworm. Like, every couple of weddings, I would raise my prices a couple $100, $500. Or I would keep them the same, but I would take out an hour or take out the engagement session. So it's just this little itty bitty, like up. And then last year I was like, forget it, we're just going to do this. being very certain that within 2 months I was going to be right back down here again. We're trying to cling on to the top prices, but I feel like every photography coach will tell you, like, this is the way you have to do it. This is the way you should do it. But there are so many other things to take into consideration. Like, are you responsible financially for anyone other than yourself? Like, what does your financial situation look like? Can you take a risk? Should you play it more safe? And that's why there really is no one like hard and fast firm answer for what to do. I err on the side of caution.
I love that you
For
said
last
that.
year when I sort of like, I was like, whatever.
Just do it.
Oh my
Sometimes you
God.
got to shoot for it. But I like
You know
that.
what?
It's like a
Yeah, but
very
it
like,
took me 20 something years to get to the point where I was like, I feel like this is a step, and it's a step I never would have taken.
and like you said, you plan for it. There's a whole lot of experience behind it where you're not just saying, I think a lot of times people push the price. It's either one of two things. It's either greed or it's because they were in some Facebook wedding group. I'm not coming for all Facebook wedding groups, but I've been in them before.
So somebody somewhere said to do it.
Told them, yeah. And they don't
Yeah.
know, there's no rhyme or reason. It's just like, well, I've been shooting for 5 years. Maybe I should. Yeah.
And maybe you should, but maybe you shouldn't. Like, I need to have like a full deep dive into like your finances and your life before I would even dare to give any sort of advice like that.
Mhm.
Because I like, this is, as I'm 47 years old, I keep explaining to my parents that no one's going to pay me to retire other than me. They have a pension. We don't get those things. So every decision that I make is very, very financially and business balanced. So I definitely err on the slightly more cautious side of things because this is all I do. This is all I've ever done. And willing, all I will continue to do because I really like it.
Now that said, how much what does the plan look like for, because we all hate seeing the GoFundMe pop up like, hey, my main camera broke. And it's like, you didn't save, you don't have insurance. What do you
That's so
recommend people
hard.
put aside for the gear or the investment back into your business?
I would recommend that you talk to a financial advisor. That is honestly that is the single best thing I've ever done because I am not an accountant. I am not a bookkeeper. I know absolutely nothing about taxes. I realize that there are places in my professional runnings of a business that I need other professionals to tell me what to do. So when I hit about 30 years old and I reached the point where I was making enough money that some of it was starting to sit in a savings account, and I was like, I'm not really sure what I should do with it. I asked around to some very close friends and found a financial advisor that was like, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to set you up with a SEP IRA. This is how you're going to start investing. And I was like, boy, I hope you know what you're doing. It was not just some guy I found online. Like it was an actual, we're talking
on
about
Craigslist.
right. And I still have very frank, like once a year conversations with him, which is like, this is where I'm at. This is what my income level is at. This is how long I want to keep working. How am I doing in terms of savings? Because the older I get, like things hurt more the day after a wedding. And I don't want to be 80 and still trying to drag gear up the steps of the plaza. Like I don't even like doing that now in my 40s. I didn't like it in my 30s. The stuff's heavy. So I treat my exit plan and my retirement plan exactly the same as if I had a 9-to-5 corporate job. What needs to be put away? How do I need to be saving? What does my insurance need to look like? What should I be putting away for things like repairs, like helping me with all of those things? Because I don't know a single person, even if they went to school for photography, that was trained to know any of this stuff.
We had a question come in that I like this. It's gear and workflow combined. Being that you don't have that, you're pulling people in per job or you don't have a full-time person. What does it look like as far as gear requirements? Does somebody have to shoot the same system? How do you handle that? And color science and all this, you don't care?
Nope. I just chuck it all in and Imagine and it figures it out for me. And before that, I actually the second photographers that work for me the most, I shoot Canon, they shoot Nikon. I've had other Canon shooters, but their files didn't look like my files. Like they had things set differently. I think that's something that people get a little hung up on. Is like, I'm a Sony shooter. I need to have another Sony shooter with me. You don't, because at the end of the day, like maybe it will be a touch trickier to balance your files, but I've never found myself in a situation where I was like, wow, this is really impossible. For from what my second photographer has. Like I can't get it to match mine. But like I tell them, just shoot on auto white balance. Don't make Kelvin choices. Like let us take care of it in post. All of my second photographers shoot on my cards and give them back at the end of the night. So I walk home with all your stuff.
Awesome. We had a question come in on your RAID settings.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you're not RAID 0. You're not winging it. Is it backups? Are you backing up on backup of backup? How many backups is enough?
So how many backups is enough is based on you and your own level of paranoia. And that is not an insult. That's literally like, you need to back up as many times as you feel comfortable. Like truly. So by the time the wedding is done, it is on my RAID, on Backblaze, and in CloudSpot. So there's 3 different places where those JPEGs are. And I feel very comfortable with them. 2 of them are online. 1 of them is in a physical place that will let me know if it's hurting, and I can go in and replace it. I toy around with the idea of keeping final JPEGs on 1 more drive, but then at the end of the day, how many drives is 1 more? Like, how many more 1 more drives do I need? If I am traveling, and I actually am about to set this one up. I have another little baby. Hang on, I have to be an influencer about it. It'll hold the hand up here. Got to tap on the packaging. Like here it is. It's right here, that ASMR stuff. It's a 2 terabyte SSD. So I'll use that for backup if I'm traveling so that it is in another place before I can come home and put it on my RAID.
Okay. So smart, but not like obsessively like over. Because I know some people are like, I got to back up to the SSD on location 3 times in between.
And if you do,
breaks.
That's fine. Like whatever makes you feel comfortable with the security of your images, as long as there's more than 1, go at it. And my contract does protect me. It says that like once the images are delivered, it is your responsibility to download them and back them up. That said, I can put my hand on every single digital file I've ever shot since 2006. So
wow.
I mean, now to be fair, those are in the Tupperware container in the basement. I probably don't have the cable for anyhow anymore, but I could get them if I had to.
You got a stack of CD spindles somewhere.
I found a note, like a 3-ring binder that had CDs in it. It was like, what
CD books.
This?
Yeah.
What are these?
They're stuck to the plastic on the inside. You're scraping them off.
I mean, I've been at this since we started with the 1 gig micro drives. And if you dropped a micro drive, you like lost all your images. So yeah, things nowadays are much better.
That's awesome. Final question here, unless anybody sneaks another one in, is how long do you hold on? Or do you hold on, or is this the standard to hold on to files forever? Or is it kind of like, hey, you got 5 images, I'll hold on to yours. After that, I've given you access to the files. It's on you.
The standard is whatever makes you comfortable. And I know these sound like, I
like that. It's real.
Empty answers, but like I tell my clients that I will guarantee that I will hold on to their images for a year. That technically they are their responsibility the second they're delivered, but I will hold on to them for an extra year. And I have had every single file I've shot since 2006 because storage is just so easy now. And it's so cheap. Yeah. I just throw it in storage and keep it. Have I ever gone back to a wedding in 2006? I think a couple of years ago, I went back for something from 2009. And that was like a random request. They couldn't find their images at all. And they were like, we know you don't have them. And I was like, actually, I do have them. You're going to need to buy a CD reader. But no, I had them. But I think that as long as you are conveying to your clients exactly what your policies are, you can do whatever makes you feel comfortable.
I love that. And even just look, you're like, yeah, well, these are not. No, I'd rather have you say, look, what works for you? Find your own process that works than to come out here when the people are like, hard, fast rule. You got to do this all the time. Never deviate.
And at the end of the day, these businesses are so personal, and the way you like to do things is so personal. Like I choose to hold on to everything literally forever. But that does not mean that anyone else has to do that at all. Like as long as whatever you do in your business is clearly communicated to your clients, go at it.
I love that. Well, Susan, you're a rare blend of business, art, workflow. You're just so your demeanor is so great, and I think the industry benefits greatly because of your approach to photography.
No. Sorry, I was
Wonderful
literally
dog
about
mom
to say
too.
all of the animals behaved, and then they all ran for the front door, and I was like, no, 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 no.
I'm not even gonna. Every time I saw the white dog walk, I'm like, I'm waiting for the fight. Where's the fight gonna
There's
happen?
2 white dogs. They're blurry, and then there's 1 bad cat and 1 good cat. So
Next time we'll get a little fight on the couch.
You know what? Next time
time
we'll do the full zoo tour. Next
There we
time.
go. We'll set you up on like a DJ Osmo or something. Have you chase them around?
And the cat just looked at me like, I will not be on your program.
We got to pay.
But no, this is if you want me to talk about workflow, pictures, how to have 5 animals while living in New York, whatever you need, I'm
There
around.
we go.
They're
Awesome. Look at them. They're all showing up now. See, they
Off
know
they
when
go.
it's time. Well,
They're
Susan, a
like
huge
keep
thank
working,
you.
and we're getting no fun whatsoever. So I got to go hug them.
Yes, you got to go hug them, love them. We thank you so much for joining us, for all
you're so
your wealth
welcome.
of experience, and of course
Yeah.
the OWC team and all of our viewers out there. Thank you guys
Love
for all
them.
making this happen.
But seriously, if you guys do have any questions about setting up a RAID system, they demystified like years and years of me thinking I have no idea how to do this into, wow, this is so easy in like less than 5 minutes. So they're very good people over there.
There, you guys heard it from her. So get yourself on a RAID. RAID is the future. If you're shooting high volume,
Easy. It's so easy.
we
Don't build
used
it
to
yourself. Let them build it for you.
we used to associate it with it being super expensive, over excessive, but now it's like, especially megapixel count keeps creeping up. These image file sizes, it's like you go out and shoot 500 images and you're filling up a card.
Oh, when I figured out if I was buying external hard drives to make the terabyte amount that I have on my RAID, I would have spent so much more on that than I did on the RAID.
There you go. Be
Get
smart.
with it, you guys.
Be
If
smart.
I can do it, you can do it.
Exactly. Check out the OWC team. If you guys do need anything, reach out to them. Knowledge is power. And look, you can't run your business without knowledge or power or a little bit of money. They're going to help you get all 3.
Right.
So, Susan,
Lord,
huge
yeah.
thank you to you, to the
Anytime.
OWC team, and all of our viewers. Another edition of the B&H Event Space now in the books. Catch y'all next time.
Bye, guys.